Now in the studio for a look at the football is Tony Mepham. Tony, good evening. Thanks for joining us.
No problem. And looking at the weather, it's not been a good day, has it? Because the rain was due in at lunchtime. It came in a bit early, but the heavy rain that was forecast last night didn't quite happen, because it's one of them that I'm not sleeping too well at the moment. I'm looking out the curtains, and just every time I see no rain, I'm quite happy. But it just seems to be the story of everything, doesn't it? We just get the pitches right, and then the rain comes. We decimated midweek again. And, with the Hospital Cup and the Junior Cup running concurrent, we can't really afford to lose any. And we're one behind with the Junior Cup, so it's not too bad. But hopefully tomorrow we'll be fine. And if I could put an appeal out, Ed, because I think it's something the clubs aren't sort of looking at, is if your home pitch where the game is going to be played is not fit and the opponent's ground is, move it. Please move it, because for some reason they just keep looking at it and going, right, our pitch isn't fit, so we'll call it off. And then you can't play it midweek because you haven't got enough light, because it's cup games. It could go to extra time and penalties. So please, have a look at it. And if your opponent's pitch is fit, just switch it to there and get it on. Let's get this football out of the way, because we've only got 7 weeks to go.
Absolutely. Well, the Hospital Cup first round, the Keystone Law Hospital Cup, is the focus of football tomorrow, Tony. And first off, we've got Ayr United against Malou. How do you see this one going?
Tough one, because Ayr have had a tough old season, but they've hung in there and they've managed to get two teams out, as much as they can, as well with Malou. Great first team. The combination is pretty good as well, but it's the discipline that lets them down. You keep seeing it each week, players getting sent off or whatever, or it's just not happening. They've got to stop that. But it's a great opportunity, I think, for Malou to get through into the quarterfinals, because Ayr is certainly a team that they'll fancy the chances against. We know the threats who are going to come from Malou. They're a very young side at Ayr. If Ayr can step up and play well, then who knows? But at the moment, I've got to be looking at Malou to win.
This one looks like it could be good. Corinthians against Old Boys. Old Boys have always got potential for an upset in them, haven't they? They're a good side on their day.
Very much so. And when you look at the two games that Corinthians and Old Boys have met at Ballafletcher, Douglas High School Old Boys beat them 2-0. So, they've got that confidence in there. Recently, they played each other at Blackberry Lane, and Corinthians just won it 1-0. They had a few chances, but Old Boys, I don't know what happened with the game against the Georges where they got beat 8-0, but it was still a good team that was out there, and it just didn't click. I know a few of the lads have been playing in the combination, which now, if they've qualified for the Junior Cup, you can play first team and combination whenever. It's not that first team regulation that's in there. I've got to go for Corinthians just. The reason why I say that, I think they're playing with a lot of confidence at the moment. They had that good result against Geordies, then they beat Pele in the cup final, and I just think that there's a little bit in the tank still of not arrogance but confidence there. And against Old Boys, it's going to be a right tough old game. The pitch was looking good on Thursday, so fingers crossed it's okay for tomorrow and we get a good game.
Up next, the Douglas Derby, D&D against Douglas Athletic.
Yeah, I think you have to go for Douglas Athletic. I watched them last week, part way through the Pulrose and Foxtail game. Up to half time they were doing very well, but they knew that Russian were going to come at them, and they did. Martin Cowan's always a threat, 6'4" Adam. Lee Ford didn't play, so if he can come in, Connor Dowell up front will always score goals. And defensively, it just slipped towards the end, but I have to say Matthew Quirk is knocking on the door, I think, for the Island's number one jersey. I've seen him in great form. He played really well against Corinthians on the night game last week, even though we conceded quite a few goals in the second half. It could have been a lot more if it wasn't for him. So I just think Rick Delaney's team will find it really tough. The pitch will be tight, it will be wet, but I think Douglas Athletic will just take it.
OK, up next, what's potentially a good second-tier encounter in the Hospital Cup. Two teams that have been in form in JCK Division 2 this season are doing very well, Foxtail and Moran. How do you see this one going?
It's a tough one because, again, I've watched these two sides. I watched Foxtail last week against Pulrose. Pulrose were 2 or 3 of the superstars missing, so they made hard work of it. They got it right in the second half, 3 goals in 10 minutes, and that's what sort of put them on their way. Robbie Jack's away, so I don't know who's going to be running the team for Foxtail. But with Moran, I think they've put that final to bed now. They lost it, they didn't play well. Last week they had a real good performance, scored plenty of goals, and I just think with Robbie maybe away and his lead, but the pitch will be sticky, there's no doubt about it. And this is one, Foxtail, if your pitch is not playable, please speak to Moran, and if their pitch is, let's get it on there, because we've got so many games to get out of the way, but I think it'll be Moran who'll win it.
Next one, it's a big ask for Ramsey Youth Centre, I think this one. St Mary's come to town.
Well, it is, and I don't know if you picked up on the notes coming through to you, but this game's been moved to the Bowl. 2:30 kick-off, the Bowl was available, and fair play to Ramsey Youth Centre. They've struggled with their pitch over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and they took it on themselves to approach St Mary's. St Mary's have booked the pitch, and between them they've got it on, so credit to them both. It is going to be tough. It's a pointer for Ramsey Youth Centre to see where they are. They're still challenging there for the Paul Henry. Promotion's a big ask for them. They're still in it, but I just can't see it happening for them. And I'm going to go for St Mary's to win, but I know they're going to be 1 or 2 players short tomorrow.
Okay, next, the Southern Derby, and two teams that know each other very well, not just from playing each other and being close proximity, but many players have played for both of these clubs as well. Between them, Russian United against Colby.
Don't rub it in, Ed. I think it's more one way than the other. I think a lot of Colby players have gone towards Russian. Good pitch at Russian. I'm pretty certain that the boys have worked hard on that this week. And I watched them last week. They made hard work of that first half. But then when Josh Kelly started to get going, the goals are always there. Mikey Williams up front. Defensively, Adam Kajin has come back in, and he's experienced, and he adds to that solidarity at the back. As well with Colby, they're still in with a chance of staying up, but I don't think it's going to happen, and I think they're going to go out the Hospital Cup as well. I think a comfortable victory for Russian.
Okay, up next is what I think is really the tie of the round, isn't it? St George's against Pele.
Well, it is, and the two teams have got each other the following day in the Junior Cup as well. And I just hope the pitch is playable, because St George's pitch cut up big time last Saturday. They tried to do a bit of work on it on Tuesday, but didn't quite get it right. But the FA have already activated a rule in this, so if St George's pitch isn't playable tomorrow, then this game will be moved to Pele. It's just one of those. We've got to get these games out of the way, because I was working out today, if Pele or St George's pretty well go all the way, I might be a game out. They've still got potentially 14 games to play. When you've got 7 weeks, 2 a week, that's right the way through. And, we're looking at possibly moving into practice week as well to get something out of the way. But if you're looking for, where the result might go, St George's have had the better out of them this season. Pele didn't play particularly well last week, even though they had a good victory. But I think both managers will be planning out their team, trying to nullify the threats that will come from the opposition. But if I was a betting man, I'd still have to go for St George's to go through.
And finally, in the Hospital Cup, St John's against Union Mills.
I think one way, I'll go for Johners. Again, pitch that I'm worried about. So St John's, please take on board, because Union Mills pitch, Beanie's done a great job up there. The drainage has worked well that they've got, and with his sort of professionalism on it, I walked it a couple of weeks ago. It was absolutely brilliant. Union Mills, they've done okay of late, and we'll just wait and see how they do against one of the better sides in the Premier League. But I think St John's, pretty well full strength. They had a good result midweek, and a lot of defenders scored goals, so that bodes well for them. But I'm going to go for St John's to win.
Okay, we've just got a message in here. I think this is about teams moving matches. Someone saying, not a chance, Tony. Why should teams give away home advantage, particularly in favour of teams like Corinthians, who will always have a solid pitch? Yeah,
that's different if it's Corinthians' pitch there. But just say if it was at Blackberry Lane, and Blackberry Lane wasn't playable tomorrow, then if they're quite happy to play it at Corinthians, get in touch. I don't know what went on Wednesday and Tuesday. I'm still trying to find out. St George's were due to play Corinthians at St George's. Okay, St George's pitch wasn't fit. Corinthians was fit. Corinthians have still got St George's to play at Ballafletcher, so they could have quite easily have moved the game up there. I'm not blaming St George's. I'm not blaming Corinthians. Somewhere along the line, it wasn't sorted out, and we could have changed the fixture around. Everyone just wants to play football, but unfortunately, there are some clubs out there who are not doing things the way sport should be done. And I think they need to have a look at themselves. But home advantage, let's face it, this is Manx football here. This isn't, we're not playing for millions of pounds.
You're not playing in front of 60,000 people.
Exactly,
right.
Exactly.
Okay, well, that's how we'll leave the football